Hey, it is September the 27th, 2018. It's Lil Wayne's birthday, all right? And I think the Carter 5 dropped. I haven't been able to check on that yet. I just woke up a little while ago. Got to go to work in a little while, pretty shortly. But I wanted to let you know about something. Of course, I have all sort of ideas for videos that are in the works and are coming to you soon. Right, but it'll take a while. It takes me a while to do sort of things, and I have a particular idea for a video that I want to make. It's going to include all sort of producing and clips and footage and stuff like this. And it's going to be pertaining to Asia Argento. Not Asia Argento, because I don't live in no dang Italy. All right, it's Asia. Asia Argento. This is a person that I did not know only a few months ago. I never heard of her and didn't care. I didn't care to know her. All right. No part of me wanted to. All right. So I became aware of her and became aware partially of her story and became more aware of the things that she was saying and doing as of recently. All right. So I wanted to go over it because, I've done a few videos about it and developments keep coming. And so it gets wilder and wilder unless you're already all caught up. You don't hardly even, I don't know if you can understand what I'm talking about unless you take it all the way back to the beginning. So that's what I wanted to do real quick. So basically verbally, I'm going to be explaining what is the video that I'm doing, what it's going to be about. All right. So this is chronologically, from what I understand, what had happened. All right. There was a movement, and it's called the hashtag #MeToo movement. As we all know, memes are kind of taken over. Very powerful. So someone started the meme of hashtag #MeToo. I forget what the person's name is. It was a long time ago. I guess it was like years ago. Asia Argento and Rose McGowan, I think it was Rose McGowan first, they went ahead and hijacked the movement, all right? Whether it be friendly or not friendly, they took it over. Asia Argento then made a mockery of the movement completely and utterly. She's doing it even today, but I want to explain how. Took it over. Asia, she took over the hashtag #MeToo movement to say, you know what, I was perpetrated on, right? And there's nothing funny or, you know what I'm saying, about being perpetrated on sexually in that regard. She said I was perpetrated on. She said I was perpetrated on by Harvey Weinstein. All right. In particular, when I was 21 years old, this is what she said. When I was 21 years old, he used his power to go ahead and wield it over me, and he wanted to take advantage of me when I was 21 years old. All right. Meanwhile, Asia's story, little did I know because I didn't care or know. Asia's story was that of a child who grew up in the movie business. Her father was big in the movies, all right? The horror movies, I guess. And then it got her into the horror movies. I've never been a big fan of horror movies. I don't really watch movies anymore, but I used to watch a lot. And horror movies just wasn't my thing necessarily. I'm not scared by them necessarily, but I'm just not entertained by them. All right, so Aisha claims that Harvey Weinstein wielded his power over her, which is it's a little bit difficult to believe just because of the connections that Aisha must have already had through her father and this and that. All right, Aisha could have definitely left opportunities on the table simply because she had money. All right, she comes from money. All right, so she could have done it. She desperately wanted her opportunities, so she gave in to Harvey Weinstein. Years later, she's like, oh, no, this is bad. Everybody's got to come against Harvey Weinstein. And I'm not necessarily opposing that idea. All right? She comes out, and then, I had to call her out just because I knew there was nothing good going on here. Not with Rose McGowan, not with Asia Argento or anything. And, they were making a mockery of this whole movie. And in my opinion, they were making it even harder for people who legitimately were taken advantage of, especially, more particularly, children in that business, in the show business, and with the movies and stuff. I already knew about the children getting taken advantage of. So when Asia came out and she said, oh, I was 21 years old and I got taken advantage of, You gotta understand. I don't believe in rapes of any sort, sexual, domination. Like, you know what I'm saying, without people's permission. I don't appreciate it. All right, but 21, you're not exactly high on my priorities list. You come from money. You're already in the movie business. Forgive me for not being overwhelmed by it, but I wasn't. All right. So months later comes out that, she went ahead and before she ever did this, she had relations with a boy by the name of Jimmy Bennett. All right. And he had to keep it hush for some time. All right. The thing is about Jimmy Bennett's story is he's way more vulnerable in every single regard than Asia Argento, except for the fact that he's a boy. All right. He was way more vulnerable in that Aisha wielded all sort of power over Jimmy Bennett, for certain. She knew him since he was a little kid. A little, like, 7-year-old kid. All right, so she winds up, it comes out that she had relations with Jimmy Bennett, in which Aisha, just to be real brief, I got to get out of here. Aisha, she completely denied at first. Completely, totally, utterly said, no, this never, ever happened. All right. Pictures started coming out. People started coming out to include Rain Dove, who's some transgender or whatever, who's dating Rose McGowan. Even she was like, man, dude, Asia sent me a text saying that she did have relations with Jimmy Bennett. All right, so then Asia realizes, okay, now I have to admit it, that I had relations because I told people, and there's very scandalous pictures of me out everywhere. So she's like, okay, I have to admit to it. Right. So she then says, okay, see, the thing is, when she told Rain Dove, she said, well, yeah, I did have relations with Jimmy Bennett. Yeah, he was underage. Yeah, it felt kind of weird. That's what Asia said to Rain Dove, and that came out. She said it felt kind of weird. And then later on, now she realizes, okay, it's pretty much definite that she had relations, and everybody knows it, with Jimmy Bennett. All right. So she says, well, he took advantage of me. Jimmy Bennett took advantage of me. All right, I didn't know what to do. I froze up, and he basically raped Asia Argento. According to Asia Argento, she lets that slide. She lets that particular rape slide, and she makes nothing of it. She just kind of puts that's water under the bridge. All right, until it comes out, until Jimmy Bennett's like, dude, Jimmy Bennett called her out. He's like, dude, you're paying me all sort of money to keep my mouth shut. Meanwhile, you're talking about the same thing, except my story is worse, Jimmy Bennett says. And I would have to agree, his story is much worse than Asia Argento's story. Right? So first Asia's denying it, and then she says, oh yeah, I did it, but it felt weird. And then she said, oh man, Jimmy Bennett totally took advantage of me when he was a 17-year-old boy, and I was deep into my 30s. All right, so that happens. All right, but this is after, actually, Aisha's boyfriend, Anthony Bourdain, goes ahead and ends his own life under circumstances that a lot of people were very confused by and frustrated by. All right, it seemed as though, because there was documentation, that Asia Argento is running around on Anthony Bourdain all over the place. All right, there's pictures and everything of her running around on him. And then he winds up committing suicide. She does some sort of Instagram photos that are very just unsavory. And people put it together and say, oh man, I think Aisha might have had something to do with Anthony Bourdain's depression, maybe. All right. Aisha completely denies it, and even denies even knowing that Anthony Bourdain was depressed at all. She says she loved Anthony Bourdain with, that they were the closest that you could imagine, right? So she didn't even see it coming. Post-mortem, after his death, after all these allegations come out, after it's realized that she definitely was paying Jimmy Bennett all this money, Aisha winds up admitting, yeah, she was paying Jimmy Bennett all this money, all right, to basically be quiet about nothing, I guess. All right, so she's paying him all sort of money to the tune of $380,000. $380,000. All right, is what they agreed upon, and she's not even paid up yet. She said, "Yeah, I agreed to that because Jimmy Bennett. See, Aisha agreed to pay Jimmy Bennett all sort of money, which wasn't hers. It was Anthony Bourdain's money. All right, she agreed to pay Jimmy Bennett all sort of Anthony Bourdain's money because Jimmy Bennett raped her, and she wanted Jimmy Bennett to be quiet about that. All right, and so she feels like she doesn't owe Jimmy Bennett no more money because it's all out now. All right, uh, and then she goes even further, like she can't stop and won't stop. Like I'm telling you, there's developments every single day, and I wish I didn't know about it. But she's gone to the point of she blames Anthony Bourdain, and this is all through proxies. This is through lawyers and people speaking through her mostly. But you know, she's coming out on camera now, crying and stuff like this. Want everybody to feel sorry for her. she's pretty much saying, okay, it was Anthony's idea to pay off Jimmy Bennett, even though Jimmy Bennett raped me. And now we're paying him to be quiet about it. Said it was Anthony Bourdain's idea. It wasn't even Asa's idea. And now, as if we're not topsy-turvy, like upside down, we're in like a wackadoodle world. If we're not already in the Twilight Zone. Asa, she's now saying is that she was basically angry at Anthony. All right? And that she, you know, she felt real... She felt real offended, basically, by Anthony taking his own life after paying all sort of his own money out of pocket to keep her situation under hush. And in that she got raped by Jimmy Bennett, and she just wants Jimmy Bennett to be quiet about it. And so she gets Anthony to pay all sort of money to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars. And she's angry at Anthony for abandoning, quote, abandoning her and her children. Her children, not Anthony's children. It has nothing to do with Anthony. She's mad at Anthony for taking his own life. She didn't even know about his depression or care. And then when he did, she got mad at him for abandoning her and her children. All right, she's crying all over the TV about it and the internet. The story gets worse and worse and worse and worse. I have a feeling that Asia Argento is one of the most disgusting people I ever heard of in my life. All right? And the story is not getting better. It's getting worse. It's getting worse and worse. I'll holler at y'all about it a little bit later, and I appreciate y'all. Go ahead and leave me comments if there's anything that I left out. I know there's a lot that I left out. I'll holler at you September the 27th, 2018.